Hi, Dr. Siebert. Happy to have you give us a little more information about First Night. We know that you do the programming, you as a part of Morris Arts, and we're very pleased to have you available to share with us some of the First Night performances that you've lined up for our very varied and diverse crowd that comes to us on First Night. So if you could share a little about the artists and the performances that we'll see this year, that would be great.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for inviting me. And it's almost too varied to begin to know how to explain some of the artists that are going to be coming, but they are a very exciting and highly talented group of people. I think I'll start with some of the jazz and blues artists. We have an extraordinary quartet of jazz guitar gods, really. These include Bucky Pizzarelli, Frank Vignola, Vinnie Raniolo, and also Gene Bertoncini. And between them, they have played at the White House. They've played with Les Paul, with Wynton Marsalis, with Benny Goodman, with you name the person, with Madonna, with Queen Latifah. They've toured the world. They have really an extraordinary an amazing presence within the guitar world, within the jazz guitar world, and among musicians of any stripe who appreciate outstanding musicianship. Frank Vignola was joking the other day that it sounds like an Italian law firm of Pizzarelli, Vignola, Raniolo, and Bertoncini, but these are really some of the very most outstanding in the world alive today and playing jazz, and they will all be together at First Night in Morristown.
Great.
So that's one of the very exciting groups. We have some others that are really very thrilling. We have the Ed Alstrom Quartet. Ed Alstrom is the keyboardist and organist at the Yankee Stadium on weekends, and he's going to be featuring Rob Paparazzi, who is the virtuoso harmonica player who was with Blood, Sweat and Tears and also with the Blues Brothers Band. And they are really a dynamo combination, and they do everything. They do R&B, they do blues, they do funk, they do rock and roll, and of course they do jazz. So that's another terrific group. We have a very interesting sort of world-influenced group called Matuto, which is a group that blends jazz, bluegrass, and Brazilian music together, and they have been designated by the United States Department of State as American Musical Ambassadors, and they will be present at First Night as well, doing their wonderful mix of the syncopated Latin music with the bluegrass kind of down-home Appalachian style, all blended together. It sounds truly unique. And I think some of the other ones, of course, we have our very own Rio Clemente, the Bishop of Jazz, who's a fabulous jazz pianist. We have Dan Levinson, who is the clarinetist that you hear on HBO's Boardwalk Empire. And he plays with the Vince Giordano Nighthawks, and he's performed all over the world, multiple places. He's been on national TV, he's been in films, and he's bringing a group called Fête Manouche, which means gypsy jazz, and it's sort of a tribute jazz group that honors the memory and the legacy of Django Reinhardt, who was one of the great founders of the gypsy jazz movement in France in the 1900s. So this is just some of the wonderful elements of the jazz and blues groups. We have the Cobra Brothers doing blues. We'll even have blues stylings on the kazoo by the Philadelphia Jug Band, which will just be purely fun. We'll have some bluegrass as well separately. We have the Brittany Haas and Dan Truman Band, and this is a very unique band. Brittany Haas has actually played on Steve Martin's Grammy Award-winning albums. She's played with Tony Trischka. She's played with a number of outstanding and phenomenally well-known Appalachian-based bluegrass bands. And Dan Truman is a composition and music professor at Princeton and a MacArthur Genius Grant winner, a Guggenheim Fellowship winner, and the founder of the Princeton Laptop Orchestra. But in this band, he's going to share his fiddling talents on the Norwegian Hardanger fiddle with Brittany Haas on the Appalachian bluegrass style fiddle. So it's going to be quite a fiddler's paradise that night, and a little touch of bluegrass and Scandinavian flavor mixed together. So that gives you a little bit of idea of the jazz, blues, bluegrass component of the evening. We have others, which I'd like to tell you about as well.